It's Mrs. Frizzell again, and just wanted to talk you through your second lab activity for Module 1. I always get questions for this specific lab. Where do I go? What do I turn in? What do I do? I'm lost. So I'm just going to kind of walk you guys through what you need to do to complete your 1.04 lab on law of conservation of energy. So let's open up the lesson 1.04. And let's go ahead and we're going to pretend like you've read the entire lesson, you've completed your guided notes, you're ready to do the work and turn it in for a grade. So as you know already, assignments and lab activities are always posted on the last page of the lesson. So we have the summary, think like a scientist, talk like a scientist. Let's scroll down here to the experiment like a scientist section. Remember, anytime you see experiment like a scientist, that means you're going to complete a lab activity, which is usually a computer simulation. And then as you complete that lab activity, you're going to complete your lab report worksheet, and you'll use the simulation to complete that worksheet. So the worksheet, the lab report worksheet is what you're going to turn in for grade. So looking here, I see two links. I see a link to the Law of Conservation of Energy lab. That's my computer simulation. I see a second link to the Law of Conservation of Energy lab report. The lab report's the worksheet. That's the piece that you're going to fill in as you complete the actual lab above it. And then I see a grading rubric. Grading rubric, I didn't talk about this in 1.03, but grading rubrics are really important because they tell you exactly how I grade your lab report. So if you want to, and I highly recommend this, take a look at the grading rubric. Once you've completed the lab report, double check it again. Make sure that you're in this category here, skilled scientist. And it tells you exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. So let's open up the Law of Conservation of Energy lab report. And I recommend doing a split screen. So you're going to open up your worksheet. That way you can, and then you're also going to open up the lab report. That way you can complete the worksheet as you work your way through the lab. And this worksheet is going to guide you through that lab activity, through the simulation. So name and title, objective statement, and then part 1. This gives you instructions for how to complete the simulation, the actual lab activity itself. So you really want to have this open as you work your way through the lab. As you complete the lab, you'll fill out this data. And pay special note to this right here. It says that they want you to use the terms increase, decrease, or stay the same. So as you're filling in your data, you don't need specific numbers. You just need to tell me if the energy is increasing, decreasing, or staying the same. And then you have a conclusion section. And then part 2, you're going to design and test another skate park ramp. It gives you a specific set of instructions. Hypothesis. The design piece, they explain to you what you need to include in the design. You're going to record more observations. There's a testing section where you're going to test one of your ramps a little bit further. And you'll finish up with a few more conclusion questions. So again, it's really important that you set down a good block of time for your science labs. They're worth a lot of points, and I spend a lot of time grading over them to make sure that they're complete and that you truly understand the main concepts taught in these activities. So really make sure you have some time set aside, pull up your worksheet, let the worksheet guide you through the actual lab activity and simulation. So usually I tell kids, pull up the worksheet, open up the lab. Here we are. Here's the actual lab activity. Have those side by side. A lot of times I'll play through the actual lab simulation and treat it like a video game. That way I know how it's set up and how it works. But here you go. Here's your actual lab simulation portion. And you'll see it's loading down here. The top part gives you some instructions for how to navigate and how to use it. So you'll use this piece here to help answer the lab report questions and to gather your data. You'll see mine is taking forever to load. I'm working from home today. I have a terrible internet connection. Yours should load much faster. So that's pretty much how you do 1.04. You'll see here as you click through, it gives you some ideas, and you can kind of play along with it, and you can play with your speed. We can increase things. We can make them smaller, our mass smaller. A grid that tells me how many meters the ramp is. We can play with the shape. Put our skater up here. So all kinds of things we can do with this. Okay. So play through the simulation. Make sure you understand how the different toggles and everything works. Go ahead, pull up the lab report worksheet. Use the lab report worksheet to guide you back through the simulation and complete the lab report worksheet as you work through it. Once you've finished this lab report, you're going to save it to your computer. And then to turn it in, we're going to come back to the table of contents of our course. And we're doing 1.04. There's the lesson. That's where the lab simulation was located. We're going to go to the drop box or the submission box. So we'll click on 1.04. And yours is going to look a little bit different because you're a student. You have the ability to upload work. There should be a little green arrow, or sorry, a circle. You're going to click on that, upload your work, and then click submit, and it goes directly to me.